scripted to scriptless in 30 days. We're going to jump into a sales call of one of my students inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, who in less than 30 days has gone from selling with a script to masterfully having a full scriptless selling discovery. And at the end of the call, we get into his personal story. Things get very deep, very personal, very emotional, but if you watch this call until the very end, you will be a different person by the end of the call. And what you hear of this person's story could be the motivation you need to finally get your act together and start mastering selling so you can make the money that you truly want to be making and live the life that you want to be living as a salesperson. So without any further ado, I am very excited with the permission of this student to be able to share their call and share their very personal and very moving story. So here we go.
I said it because it was my first end-to-end scriptless call.
Big revenue has come from, but now I think it's time to tailor off. I've wanted to do service for like years, but I just have never been able to get out of the truck, remove myself, and start taking these tasks, nor have I had a plan. I have done, I did.
Notice that, guys. I've never been able to, never had a plan. Probably the reason you were never able to is because you never had a plan, as opposed to the kind of generalization of never able to, as if like just absolute impossibility.
Success International like 4 years ago.
Okay.
They were kind of like a mentor program to get service truck going, but that all went to the wayside because I got divorced during that time. So I just was like, I can't handle that right now. So
Gotcha.
But
So I guess to start off,
Great interrupting there, Don. Perfect, because he was going to keep going and going and going.
I mean, where are you?
Notice how casual that was, guys. That was not confrontational and very subtle. The guy liked being interrupted. That's the most important thing to realize. People know that they are ramblers and they actually like someone reining them in. So don't be uncomfortable to interrupt someone. Of course, you'll get the outliers of people that get agitated by it. But most people that are not where they want to be, and a part of why they're not where they want to be is because they're ramblers. They like having a leader on the phone that's going to just keep them on the straight and narrow. So don't be afraid of doing it, guys.
Looking to be with the business as far as revenue or profit?
I mean, I don't have a ceiling. I mean, I know this thing can go big. I'd like to have a couple of trucks with a couple of guys running full time.
Okay, but let's look at I guess more short term, like the next 6 to.
Good. So you asked the question, saying it could go as big as it could go is irrelevant. So I like what you did there.
12 months.
Sure.
Where would you like to see those numbers?
I mean, it'd be great if we could get a truck generating, $500,000 to $1 million.
Okay. And how many trucks do you have right now?
Currently,
So because I don't like selling the future, you're now shifting it to where are you at right now?
we've got 4.
Okay.
So we've got 4 trucks. Included in that count is a van. And we use the van mostly for our most of our service calls because it holds more, right? The trucks are single cab trucks and they do more for the rough end. They just haul more, but it's not ideal for a service vehicle.
Okay. So right now, what is the total revenue of the business?
So right now I just did 1.2 last year.
Got it. Okay. So.
And that's minimal service. That's like new construction is basically feeding that, it's feeding that animal.
Gotcha.
But construction slowing down, so that's why I'm kind of coming to you guys. I need something, to be honest. Like, I know this is going to take some time to get some traction. Like, I understand that. I'm just looking to eventually, I'm not getting any younger, is get it to a point where we've got systems in play, the guys are running, I can eventually.
Often when people make little subtle comments, those are the things that are really rubbing them up the wrong way. So his age and where he's at for his age is bothering him. He just dropped it in. I'm not getting any younger. Those little bumper sticker comments, guys, are the real juicy stuff.
Eventually step out of it and just run. I like going out in the field because I'm not an office guy. So I like to be out in the field, and that's a big thing for me. So I love to do both. It's just, I've got an assistant. I'm looking to have her take this section over as far as on the service, get her going. Once she gets to, it's too much for her, then we hire someone else, and then she can delegate some of, the CCNRs and the dispatching and that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
Be more of an office manager at that point. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, if we break it down, it looks like it's basically about 25,000 per truck per month. Does that sound about right?
I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Based on the 1.2, I just divided by 4 and then divide that over 12 months, and that's what I got. So right now, you want to then say about 500,000 per truck. So you want each truck doing about 40 to 50,000 on its own per month.
Yeah, and I don't think that's too crazy. I don't think that's too crazy. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm not, were you able to watch our videos?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, at a minimum, that's what we're going for.
Okay.
I mean, the folks who are at the upper end are anywhere from 65, 75,000 per month per truck. So it's definitely doable. I guess the question I have for you is, what do you feel is the problem? What is the bottleneck that's preventing you from being able to get from that 25,000 a month to the 40 to 50,000?
Right now, leads. I don't have any type of lead generation. I don't have a marketing budget. I don't have any type of ad spend. I don't have any of that coming in, because when the revenue gets too tight.
This is good, because the front part of the call, I don't sell the futures and where do you want the business to be very quickly. And notice how quick this has happened, guys. 5 minutes. We're now into the guy just spewing the fact that he doesn't know this, he doesn't have this, pain, challenges, gaps, problems. So this is good. We're into him just opening up now about the fact that he currently sucks in his current position, which is good. And to be there in 5 minutes, not a personal fan of the way Don did it in terms of starting with the future. But as I've said, guys, it's scriptless selling. I would rather Don do it the way he just did it and he's there in 5 minutes than some of the other guys and gals on the call that are trying to do whatever you're doing. And we're 20 minutes in because we haven't had a truthful conversation. So it just is testimony to I'm not even tied to my preference of starting with the pain. So long as we're having a real conversation, we're leading the call and we're getting into the pain quickly. That's what matters, guys. How you do it, scriptless. It doesn't really matter. Yes.
So Matt and I were working the other day, and we've come up with this. Is I get it. Like, let's say you have someone, let's say they were doing 15,000 a month. Now they're down to 12. Okay, you're losing 3,000 a month. That's 36,000 a year. Easily quantify it. But what happens if you have someone, let's say they just started their business, they're 3 months in, they're doing 10 grand a month, but they want to go further? Like, how do you get that quantification without going future? Like, so, or how would you have done it maybe in this case?
Well, I would have
I've
wanted
heard you say today it's about capacity. Is that how do you do it?
Well, I would have wanted to know what he thinks his biggest challenge is. And if he started by saying, my biggest challenge is the number of trucks I have on the road, I would have then said, why is that a challenge? And if he'd have said, well, I want 10 trucks, then I would have gone to how many do you currently have? I would have asked him to say the challenge first, whereas what you did was ask him, where do you want the business to be? Does that make sense?
I see.
Freezing a bit.
Okay. So it's about the fact that I brought it up as a.
Yeah, like that worked with this guy because you can see 5 minutes in, he just wants to spew the fact that nothing's working. There would be some prospects that wouldn't have liked the fact that you were trying to sell the future. They would have not just spewed all of this out 5 minutes later.
Josh, based on how he did it, where he asked the future, could you just ask based on, okay, so that's where you want it to be? Like, what is the biggest challenge you're having on getting to that point right now? Like, and then just ask it based on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which has worked. So again,
Sorry,
guys, I'm not married to my preference of doing it. The only thing I'm married to is you have a real, authentic, truthful, accurate conversation. How you do that has to be scriptless. Which direction you go on the scriptless method is up to you. I just personally think it's always more effective to start with the pain than to try and sell a hypothetical future. If he says my pain is I don't have enough trucks on the road, I would say, what do you mean by enough? Well, I need the business to do 2 million. Why do you need it to do 2 million? Blank, blank, blank reason. Where are you at now? 1 million. So you're down by 1 million. Yes, got it.
Can I point something out that I see Don doing on this call? Because I think it's great the way you came into the call with your interruptions. Like, I don't care about anything else except the problem. Let's get down to that. And it's very similar to the way Don has came into the mastermind and not lollygagged around. He's just been like, I'm gonna get down to what I need. I'm paying for this mentorship. I'm gonna get what I need out of this, and it's the energy transference onto the call.
100%. Apparently, we've got a new vocabulary section coming into the UCM today.
Lollygag. You never heard
Yeah.
that?
No. So
What is that,
today's
bro?
It's like
vocab.
just fucking around, just not taking things seriously. Tiptoeing through the what's it called? The daisy fields.
In British, it's fannying around.
Is that like British or what the fuck?
All right, guys, let's keep going.
Like, well, I gotta keep the guys. I gotta keep those families fed. So then we kind of stop doing. We look at the budget and go, okay, well, we can't do that anymore if we want to keep these guys. So it's been this push pull, if you will. Like when it's good, it's good. But then when it's not, like right now, we've been real slow for the last month and a half, 2 months. I already lost a couple guys, so it's like I'm down to me and my lead guy, and I'm keeping him busy enough. But
Got it. And so you say it's been push or pull. How long has it been push or pull? Oh, it's been push or pull for 2 years. And you said this time it's been a month and a half. How long usually is the time when it's like a downtime? Oh, usually it's 2 weeks. Okay, so this time round, it's now, 3 times as long as it usually would be. Is that accurate? Yes. Because what I would have wanted to do now would have been clarify using the data. If it's been push and pull for blank period of time, what's different now? Most likely the difference is that the negative period, where it's a lull period, is worse than it's ever been, because people don't make changes randomly, guys. So that would have been what I'd dig into next.
Eventually. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh yeah, go ahead. No, I mean eventually he'll go if I can't. Just like anyone else, if I can't keep the work coming in.
Okay, so but you said you had 4
Oh, so he thinks he's going to lose his stuff.
trucks right now. So now, but it sounds like it's just you and one other guy.
Yeah. So I got right now today. I got 3 trucks sitting.
Oh my goodness.
So notice that it's shifted from a positive hypothetical future to a negative current situation, which he's got this guy that's his only guy, and he's thinking he's probably going to lose this guy. That's the current pain of why he's on the call right now. Not hypothetically he wants to get the trucks from 25 to 50K, because people don't book in sales calls for hypothetical growth, guys. They book in sales calls where their current situation is dire straits. They're like, shit, this is bad and it's gonna implode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
So-
I want to be real transparent with you. It sounds good, but it's not flowing like that. They're not out every day.
I got you.
For the last 2 months, it's been one truck's been out, and then I've been out, kind of filling voids where I can.
Okay. So, all right. So we don't have 4 trucks doing 25,000 per month right now. What would you say? So for
Minor details, don't say we, say you. Slight nudge, but it's subtle.
and so that guy who's out there full time, what would you say is the revenue he's doing on a monthly basis? So like we're at the end of July right now. So for the month of July, what did he do?
I like that in real time you went from a hypothetical question, like an average, to actually let's just get a specific number. That's another thing, guys. Like in real time, you can be asking the question and go, actually scratch that question. Let me ask it like this. That's fine, guys. And people just view you as a real person that's thinking in real time. They'd much rather you think in real time and double step yourself than to be coming out with some cookie cutter line that's just not relevant. People buy from people that are real humans.
I'm gonna say 10 grand.
10 grand total revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about you? What were you able to do?
Great.
A couple grand.
A couple, meaning like
2 grand.
So I don't know your industry, Don, but for me, as someone that doesn't know it, I'm like, why did he do 2 and the other guy did 10?
Well, he's
And
saying
how
that
long-
he's kind of split between the and going out and doing jobs as well. So because he's the owner, so he's got wearing different hats.
Okay.
Has it been like that? You said a month and a half, or
2
We're
months.
gonna walk into July. It'll be 2 months. It'll be 60 days.
okay? So I mean into August. So for June, how much would you say he did? About the same 10 grand, or
More
Yeah.
like-
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'm bleeding money right now. That's why I'm like,
Okay.
I'm hurting bad.
Okay.
I gotta do
So
some,
What's hurting the most about it? I know you said money, but is there anything else?
desperate measures here.
okay, I got it. So here's what I'm curious about now.
This is really masterful what Don just did there, guys, and it's very subtle. The guy is bleeding out verbally, emotionally, telling you everything. One of the worst things you could possibly do in that moment, guys, is to quote unquote empathize from the perspective of get him to start feeling a victim. What Don is doing, very, very subtle, but extremely important. He just said, okay, I got it. he's not like, oh, yeah, that sounds really bad. It must be so bad. He's empathizing with the guy through listening to the guy and hearing him and understanding him. You don't empathize with someone by getting into victim mindset with them. And like that, what Don did there is such a subtle thing, but that's real craft. When someone's bleeding out to you, you don't want to sit there and pat them on the back and, it must be so bad, put your head here and cry on my shoulder, because that actually disempowers the prospect. You got to let them spout everything out and say, okay, yeah, I understand, I got it. And you got to keep digging. You got to keep going through the conversation. So if any of you have been in a situation with a prospect like this, and because it's still the same as buddy, guys. If you've got a prospect that's crying out to you and telling you how bad it is, and you get into sympathizing with them, that is buddy. It's just a different version of buddy, where you're, oh, awesome, yeah, I've got kids as well, I support the Hawks too, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. It's buddy. You're not supposed to be buddy with someone. You're listening to them, clarifying all the points, writing down the pain points, understanding them, being real with them, and empathizing with that must be shit, but you're not getting them into crying on your shoulder and being a victim. Okay? So it's very subtle.
Can you go back 10 seconds and play it all the way through so we can see it again?
Absolutely. Yep.
And how
That's
long
way
has
too
it been
far.
like that? You said a month and a half or 2?
Was that too far?
Yeah.
About the same 10 grand? Or?
Yeah, yeah, dude, I'm bleeding money right now. That's why I'm like,
Okay.
I'm hurting bad.
Okay.
I gotta do
So-
some desperate measures here.
Okay, I got it. So here's my
Subtle, but it's just, okay, I got it. Right? That's how you got to do it. Good stuff, Don.
here's what I'm curious about now. You feel that the biggest issue is a lack of leads, right? But you've just started something yesterday or in the last couple of days that's going to start feeding you leads. So
Hopefully, yeah, I mean, it's not.
Same thing as we've talked about on the last 2 calls. Absolute detachment. Okay, well, your leads are the biggest issue, but you've started something that's going to fix that. Well, no, because blank, blank, blank reason. You wouldn't have done that if you're attached to making the sale.
The integration won't fully take effect for another week or two.
Okay.
So it's not up and running yet. It's got another week or two before it's actually up and running. So as
Just going back a few messages in the chat. Chris, what was your light bulb moment?
I notice I do this a little too much, is I empathize too much with them, where I'm trying to feel them, and we go into rumination and then victim mindset.
Yeah.
And I generally care so much because I have a coaching background, but I just noticed that's my light bulb moment reviewing my calls and even in my own offer. I go too far into that, whereas Don is, right, I'm going to listen, and that's how I'm going to show that I care. I'm not going to buy into your limiting story. I'm going to lead you out of it.
Exactly.
And so that's a light bulb moment I just had. Awesome work.
far as now, I feel I'm dead in the water. I really do. I don't have, the phone's not ringing. We don't have anything coming in. And I'm chasing work. I'm calling contractors, but I don't have anything inbound coming in.
okay. So that's kind of what I'm
So you don't have to, because he's already deep in pain. But if you wanted to get him deeper in pain, the obvious next question would be, and how's that going? Oh, well, I'm calling people, I'm calling contractors, but I'm not getting any business. Okay, understood. Because he had that little out saying he's trying. You can hear emotionally he's still in pain. But if you wanted to bury him even more, and how's it going? Oh, it's terrible. It's not working. Okay, understood.
thinking, okay, so right now you're bleeding money. I mean, money is a tight resource. You're bleeding money. And you said as things were getting lean, you kind of, the first thing to go kind of sounded like it was the marketing budget, right? How much money going to that kind of stuff. So it begs the question. I mean, obviously this what we do isn't free. So are you in a position, especially considering given the fact that you are also doing the lead generation to the AI, are you in a position to invest in something else right now? If everything were to align at the end of this call.
It's yeah, I mean, it's gonna really just boil down to how quick can we get some stuff coming in to capitalize on whatever it's.
Notice the response, guys. Not it's all going to come down to how much money it is. It's going to come down to, is it going to work? Is it going to fix my problem? If it will, I'll find the fucking money, is basically what he's saying. That's what a good prospect will say if you're detached from the question. They're not going to try and tell you it depends how much money it is. They're going to say, well, I don't have a choice, is basically, that's the phrasing he's saying. I don't have a choice.
Whatever the spend is gonna be for you guys.
Okay. And I mean, it's very tight. You said you're dead in the water. Is that something you're willing to do?
I think I'm at a point.
Good. Double tie down. Very good, Don.
I'm up against the wall. I don't know if I really have a choice. It's either that or
He's saying he doesn't have a choice.
Shut it down. And I'm not going to shut down after 7 years. So
Okay. Why not? I mean, if you feel like you're dead in the water, why not
Phew, triple tie down. Let's go.
shut it down?
because I don't have a quit mentality. I'm not just going to throw in the towel. Like,
He's buried now in that fucking tie down. Triple tie down, Don. Good stuff.
it's going to be, hey, what are you guys going to bring to my table? And I'll figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
As
So
far
you
as financially, I mean, whoever I spoke to, you guys are looking for like an upfront fee of X dollars. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and then you guys can do a couple payments or something cool. I can make that happen. I'm willing to go get it.
How much is this guy selling Don? Like he's selling Don 10 out of 10. This is amazing, Don. Great stuff.
I've got it somewhere. You know, if you don't have to take it out of personal. I just want to know.
He's like, I'll find the fucking money. I'll take it out of my personal bank account, whatever it is.
There's so many programs and stuff
I agree, Ivan. That's why when Don said it, I thought, yeah, you know what? Let's just do something different.
out there. Why you guys? That's really where I'm at. Why am I? What are you guys gonna come to me? And how are you gonna get me out of this this hole?
Mm-hmm. Well, what did you see based on the pre-call material?
Perfect transition to that question. So this is the question, guys, which is why us? And look at how quick we're into it. 10 minutes in, we're into the why us. If any of you have seen the 4 things you need on sales call, burning problem, strong desire and commitment to solving it. What was the third one? Burning problem, strong desire and commitment to solving it. Admitting that they need help to solve it. They can't solve it on their own. And then why do they trust us at a certain level to solve it? We're already on to that 4th and final one. And it was the perfect time after triple tying him down that he needs to do something. Why are you going to do something with us? We're going a layer deeper from just, I have to do something, to why do you have to do something with us? Perfect transition.
Josh, I just want to acknowledge Don's shoulder shrug. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm like, okay, he's completely in Pluto as far as being undetached, and I love that because I don't think he noticed that, but I just saw him like shoulder shrug. I'm like, bro, that's so boss shit. I love it.
Yeah,
thank you.
100%.
The ad. What did you see that resonated with you? Why did you reach out to us?
I reached out to you guys because I know that I basically need help with accountability, staying on task. Hey, if you're going to do this, you know, I need you to do this for week 1 and get it done. Boom, check that off the list. Then I need you to do this for week 2. Boom. Okay, got this done. Check that off. And keep following up. I get too busy. I'm a single dad, so I'm trying to like run this company, got my kids. So I really need someone to be like, hey, you get what we asked you to get done? Yes, cool. Here's the next step. And I don't know how to get, you know, I only know what I know. And that's why I'm coming to you. It's kind of, I'm coming to you looking for education, and I know education costs money. And that's why I'm coming to you guys going, hey, I know it's going to cost me. I'm hoping that you can help me step by step, systematically set up the system, set where we need to go, keep moving forward. I'll start to see it grow.
Notice how much Don is actually listening as well. Like Don's not just asked him the question and realizing the prospect selling himself and just checked out. Don's listening to everything he's saying and checking it in his head. Like, okay, well, when I explain the pitch, I'm going to say it step by step, and I'm going to say that we're going to tell you what to do. You've got to check it off. You can see Don's taking this information in. You can see it in his eyes.
and as that, then that'll, you know,
Put fire under my tail, give me that energy back that I'm missing, and get excited again, and then ramp it up. Because I know it's a rinse and repeat. I've heard guys, I've talked to guys like once you.
This is really good, Don. This is really, really fucking good. Yes.
Can I say like actually don't 1 second. Let me just change my figure. He has a really good level of like intensity, but it's not like intensity in like in terms of abrasiveness, but it's like you can very much tell that he is like caring about the prospect, and he's like it just very, very focused on what they want over anything else. And it's also ties into just a very high level of conviction as well. I think it's like a very good frame where that's why this guy is spilling, but he's also selling himself to Don because of that level of like intensity that he has. Yeah, I think it's an awesome frame.
100% agreed. Well pointed out.
You've got the system down, and it's a system. It's okay, cool. Here's for truck 1. Now just do it for truck 2, and so on and so forth. Depends on how big you want to get.
Right. Okay. So other than
No, yeah, right. Okay. No, like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant. Just yeah, okay. So good, Don. Very, very
The
good.
accountability, you said like you only know
And he actually feels uncomfortable that you didn't acknowledge him that much, but that was beautiful.
what you know, which is true. What do you feel like you need to learn? What do you feel like you're missing as far
Double tie down.
Fuck
So
this.
level 1 tie down, why us? Okay, you've given me a list of why you like us and the things that you think. What specifically do you think you need more? Double tie down. Beautiful.
as being able to run the business the way you want to and scale up?
Systems, inbound calling. How do I get the phone to ring? Other referral
He wants that fucking phone ringing.
doesn't work anymore in this world we live in. We used to be, I mean, awesome. We were killing it for so long. But now, I would say after the election, now the tariff, now all of a sudden, everyone I'm talking to is like, they're in this low holding pattern. Yeah, well, I need to break free from that. Okay. The amount of growth that's going on in Arizona, it's ridiculous. Okay. So I know there's service calls. I know there's got to be something. Everyone else is running. I feel like I see a new electrical company on the road, once a week. I'm like, oh, there's another new guy,
So there's business to be had.
Yes.
Okay. So this has been going on for basically the last 2 months is what you're telling me. You've been in business for 7 years. Over those 7 years, what have you done on the marketing side? It sounds like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like there have been periods where you've invested in some marketing, but then periods where you haven't. Is that accurate?
I would say I would almost come to the table and say like, forget marketing. I haven't really marketed. I've really kind of like dabbled in.
Because Don challenged it and was like, I understand everything so far, but what I don't understand is you've been in business 7 years and you're having a lead gen problem. Don was basically saying, like, how can that even be the case? And because Don was willing to go there, the guy is now having to admit, well, if I'm quite frankly being honest, like I just kind of didn't bother with marketing.
And if you empathize with them too much, you can't challenge them like that.
Exactly. Yeah. If Don, imagine how weird it would be for the prospect, and it would feel weird for Don if the prospect was bleeding out and telling you how bad it was, and Don was, shoulder to cry on. It'd be really weird to then challenge them with that question after, because it'd be like, hang on, are you my friend or are you not my friend? And that's why you can't get into buddy-buddy, guys, because if you get into buddy-buddy, you can't then not be someone's buddy. Whereas if you're not someone's buddy, you can stay not someone's buddy and actually serve them. You can't just bounce in and out of friends and then not friends. It's why I don't think everyone on this call has heard this, but there's a handful of people that have heard this. is not my friend. And that was like a big wake up for a lot of people that heard it. It's like, we're not friends. Like would never say I'm his friend. He's my mentor. He's not my friend. Even though we speak every day, for some of you that are going to meet us at the next mastermind, you'll see us and you'll be like, we have a good relationship. We hang out well, but we're not friends. And that is very clear to both and I. We're not friends, because he couldn't say the things he says to me to challenge me if he was my friend. Okay. And with respect, guys, that's the same for me compared to you guys. I'm not your friend. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to make you rich and successful and build the life of your dreams for you to have that with your real friends, with your family, with your wives, with your kids. I'm not your friend. And that's exactly what we're seeing in real time here with Don and this prospect. Okay. No,
Josh?
guys, friends won't challenge you, because there's still a dependency on the friendship staying there, which is, I'll challenge you to a limit, but not to the point where I'm willing to risk the friendship, because the friendship for most people is more important than the challenging, because they need you as a friend as much as you need them. What's that, Daniel?
And even if they do, you won't listen because they're your friends.
Often not.
They have
as
no
well.
authority over you. There's no frame. It's like you telling your kids to do something. They don't, because you're their dad and they think you're old and old fashioned and what the fuck do you know? But there comes along somebody else saying the exact same thing and you see them doing exactly what they said, and that's when you said fuck.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it is. It's a painful of being a father.
All right, let's keep going, guys. This is doing very good so far.
Things. And then also, so you understand, I've never had a service truck running full time for 7 years. It's always been contractors, small service, like, oh, Aaron will go out and do the service. It's been new builds. We've built hundreds of homes, new builds. That's been my revenue generator. But as now that it's slowing down, I want to kind of do a shift and go, it's time to go into service. So for you, I'm almost coming to you and saying, I don't have.
Let me just pause. So Harry, for example, remember when I met you in person, you were at that event with a friend. I was challenging you for why you just haven't taken action as long as you have. And the friend that you were with was basically agreeing with me, but he'd been your friend for however long he's been your friend. He didn't challenge you enough to get you to take action. But when I challenged you, you then came and joined whatever it was 48 hours later. So Yes, friends can challenge you, but they won't challenge you with the same intensity at the same level because they're your friends. They just won't do it at the same level. Okay?
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think it's the frame, because you can have tough conversations with really good friends where they do
Yeah.
challenge you, but it's not like they're viewing every conversation in that way. Like they're going to allow more of your rationalizations and they're going to know you and let you off. Whereas a mentorship relationship, they're not going to allow any of those rationalizations and they're going to challenge you more often. And probably you need to be challenged more often to grow than a friend would challenge you.
Yeah, your friend will challenge you because they want the best for you if they're a good friend. But then when you don't do something about it, they'll let it go and they'll just go to the cinema with you.
Yeah,
Whereas a mentor won't let it go and then go and hang out with you instead.
for sure.
Does that make sense? They won't shift into something else. It's like, I'm going to stay on you until you do the thing that I know you need to do for your own benefit. And we're not going to talk about anything else until you do it. Does that make
Makes
sense?
perfect sense.
And
Yeah.
the reality is that the power dynamics are completely different, right?
Completely different.
Completely different. I mean, if you're going to talk like wise to some friends, I don't think everybody would take it the same way, in a positive way, you know?
No. All right, let's keep going.
Unless they ask you something.
Yes, I got some vehicles. I don't have any service running at all. Like, let's just go from a blank slate. I would almost think that would be more obtainable. That way you guys come to me like, hey, cool. You've been in business. You haven't been doing anything. You don't have any systems. Cool, great. And I'm very open and willing to take that on. Going, this is what you need to do to get you where you want to go. And here's how we're going to do it. And that's what I'm really looking for.
Okay. I think I understand that. So I guess the question I have for you is, was there a moment, a signature moment, a turning point recently where you said it's time to make this huge shift? Because I mean, you've been doing this for 7 years, way, with contractors and what have you.
So good. Timing of everything has been perfect. Exactly when that question should have come out. He's tied him down, double tied him down, been a bit confused. Okay, you've been in business 7 years. This has now been going on the last 2 months. Like, have you done anything with marketing? He admitted, because Don challenged him with the data. No, if I'm honest, I haven't really done anything. Well, if you haven't done anything, as we've trained before, hasn't done anything consistently at the right level for 7 years, you better give me a fucking good story why something's changed. Because otherwise, as someone said about 45 minutes ago, the likelihood that someone's going to start doing something that their track record shows they haven't been doing is very slim. We're not going to assume they can't do it. You better now sell me, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, as to why you're going to do it. So that the question Don's asking now had to be the obvious next question.
Was there something at the time recently where you said that dog don't hunt no more? I mean,
Yeah, I would say it's been recently, just with my kids, and I'm like, I can't keep going this direction and not being able to
Kids. What with the kids?
provide for them and struggling. I don't want them to see me, sit down and
Ooh, they're seeing him, or he thinks it's close to them seeing him. So it's not just the kids, it's the kids' impression of him that he doesn't like the thought of.
struggle. I've wanted to do service for a few years. I wanted to do it. Now with this downtime, this slow time, I want to capitalize on that. So I think it's a good time for me to take this on. And previously it's been, ooh, I want to stick my finger over here and I want to do it. And then all of a sudden I get slammed with houses. I get 20, 30 homes and I'm booked out for 6, 7 months, right? That's what's been happening. So to answer your question, that's why I haven't really jumped into the service, because it's like, oh, cool, I got a crap ton of revenue coming in over here. I don't have the time, the focus, and the energy or the resources to move this direction, because I know service is a different animal. It is. Yeah.
Okay. And so are you at a point where, I mean, obviously you said something's got to change and you want to change something. Do you feel that you're at a point where you are ready for someone to come in and show you exactly how to do things and actually change the way you're running your entire business?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Double tie down.
big believer in changing.
Go for it, Harry.
So I might need you to rewind it and listen to it again, but he mentioned the kids struggling and he said, he kind of gave some reasons and he was like, that's why I haven't jumped in yet. But would you have got more clear on the turning point as to why now is different, as opposed to he gave some external reasons and he's like, no, now's different. He touched on the kids, but not too much.
I agree. I don't think we really have the real reason yet. So I'm just keep playing it and see what comes out.
See if it comes. Okay.
Yeah.
Painful as it can be and as challenging as it is, with pain there's growth, struggle comes lessons learned. I've done all that. I understand it. That's why today.
But I will say, guys, I've said this many times, and I think it's really good that we're watching a good call from someone that's not me, or a role play from me, because I've said so many times, and even though I've said it, I don't think any of you really got it. Hopefully now you'll get it when I explain this. All the times that you see me role play, guys, I am doing 10 times more than you actually need to do on a real call. And I've said this every time, guys. So when Harry's pointing out well, did we not need to challenge this and dig into this and dig into that? You're absolutely right, Harry, in principle. But a real sales call where you do everything right for the first 17 minutes, it's enough, guys. It's enough. Like, you don't need to cripple someone on the sales call. The only reason I do that is because usually, not that I'm not criticizing you for doing it, guys, you're being asshole prospects in terms of you're like, well, I don't really know if I have a problem and I'm not really sure this, and lying and rationalizing and making a bunch of excuses, which if I was on a real call with a prospect that was doing that, I would have to be on a discovery with them for 50 minutes in the discovery. But that's not most prospects. Most prospects, if you do the right first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, they'll be like this prospect. And I know for a lot of you, you're like, no, like my prospects are not going to put it all on a silver platter and tell me how bad their life is. Trust me, guys, they would rather make their life easier by making your life easier to close them so they can solve their problem. The reason they don't do that is because you fuck up the first 5 minutes. If you miss the first 5 to 10 minutes and you don't hold on the right pain point, or you miss some objection that they said and you had the wrong energy, then you'll be 20 minutes in the call asking me for a call review being like, why is my prospect not opening up? Well, because you made them not open up by fucking up the first 5-10 minutes. But if you don't screw up those first 5-10 minutes, this will be a normal call, guys. This will be most of your calls. You're 20 minutes in, you're like, pretty much got everything I need in the discovery. Didn't have to challenge them too hard because he's just telling me I'm bleeding out, I'm dying, my 7-year business is about to go under, my kids are looking at me like I'm a failure, and he's telling you everything. So if he's telling you everything, you don't have to go as hard on the prospects, guys. Now, I'm not saying what you said is wrong, Harry. It's absolutely right. It's just, is Don going to lose the call now because he didn't do that? No, he's stacked so many things correctly in order that the call's pretty much going to close whatever he does now. Does that make sense, Harry?
That makes perfect sense. Why, just on what you said, and this is something, it's a big takeaway for me today and something I've realized lately as well, like doing my call reviews, you can see within the first 5, maybe like 7 minutes where the call's lost. Is that a case of first impressions, if that makes sense? Like the prospect is going to make a judgment on how they view you very early in the call. And if you don't get to the truth and really earn their respect and their trust in the first few moments, it doesn't really matter what you do, even if you do somehow manage to bring it back and get to the truth later in the call. Like, what do you think is the reason behind that first part being so crucial?
Great question. Let me explain it as an analogy. Let's say, and you'll know this as a guy, and sorry that this is a guy's analogy for the ladies, but hopefully you'll follow along. If you're a guy and you go on a date with a girl and you say, let's meet at a cafe, and you meet at the cafe, within the first few minutes of that girl arriving, a lot of times, not that there's anything against women, because guys will be the same for the women in reverse, the girl will do something within the first 5 minutes that you're like, yeah, I don't really like that. The way she spoke, or the way she sat down, or, just something. There'll be something that you're like, meh, I don't really like that. It's just not really aligned with what I'm looking for. But most guys will just leave it. They'll just, whatever, I'll just keep staying on the date, maybe try and have sex with her. Whatever your intention is that you're trying to look for, you'll just brush under the carpet the things that you don't like. And that's normal. But imagine if at the end of the date, the girl was like, I want you to marry me. You'd be like, fuck no. Like, you're asking for a massive commitment, and I've already seen some red flags. The reason that you brush under the carpet the red flags is because you're not being asked for anything massively commitment based. Now let's flip it to a prospect. At the end of the sales call, you're asking them for $5,000 or $10,000. They're going to look at all those little red flags and they're going to be like, no, 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 and no, for the last 7 reasons that you just gave them. So the reason that it is so important in terms of first impressions is because the difference between a sales call and a normal interaction in life is at the end of the sales call, you're asking for a big commitment, time, money, and trusting a complete stranger and asking them to commit to a learning process. So of course they're going to look at the red flags. The reason it's hard to wrap your head around is that realistically, in your normal life as a guy or a gal, you usually have red flags or things that you see in the beginning of a scenario that you just ignore. And the reason you ignore it is because there's nothing on the line. It's like, oh, well, I'll just go on a second date, like no big deal. I'll go on a second date, even though I already know there's things I'm not interested in or things that are not aligned. Whereas if after that first date, the girl said, right, we're going to get married, you'd be like, fuck no. And the only reason you would say no is because you've already seen red flags. Does that make sense, Harry?
Perfect sense. Thanks.
Very welcome. All right, let's keep going.
Is important. I want to know where you guys are at to where I can be like, hey, sweet, I'm so glad I had this call. I'm so glad I struggled and I'm, running out of money because I wasn't running out of money. I don't really think we'd be having this phone call.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of what's been happening the last 7 years, right? You're running out of money, you thought you had something going, but now you realize that the whole business is really dependent on contract. Right. Okay. So as far as, because you mentioned again, kind of what we do and what have you, you've seen the pre-call material, so you know what we do. You've seen the fact that we've helped hundreds of other electricians, correct?
Absolutely.
So is it a question? So if we come in and we say, Monday, we want you to stand on your head for 3 hours. Are we going to have...
All right, he's just stolen my line there, but that's funny.
Trouble getting you.
So that's the only word track you're going to learn in the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, guys, is the stand on your head word track.
Do that, or are you going to say, you know what, these guys have already done this. They know what the heck they're doing.
What's very calibrated about the fact that Don did it, even though he's doing it in a very serious face, he shifted the energy for the prospect, meaning it was very calibrated that this guy's been in pain. He's been, stressed. You can see it on the call. And then Don now just made him laugh. Just shifting that energy to a different vibe is so humanizing for the sales call. It's going to make that prospect really buy into Don. So it's very, very calibrated.
The reason I'm bringing them in is so that they can tell me exactly what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd stand on my head for 3 hours, but I would definitely take on, what. Yeah.
Obviously it's not literal, but.
No, I understand.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you've been doing something for 7 years, you know how to do it, you're good at it. And then now there's a humongous pivot. And like you said before, you understand that change, comes with pain. Something's going to be uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, it doesn't help us if we come in and we say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. And you're like, okay, you're going to pick and choose and say, okay, I'll do A and C, but I'm not going to do B, D, and E. Sure. Well, then at that point, that's not going to help you. And we're going to. Now, was it successful? That's not what we're looking for. We're looking to bring people on who are going to listen to what we have to say, take the advice and run with it. Because at the end of the day, we can't implement it. We're just coaching. Yeah. So where do you feel like you are there?
Go for it, Bradley.
I'd say probably the most admirable thing about what Don is doing is the fact that he could have closed this guy like 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes before, but he's so dedicated and unattached and disciplined to the entire sales process that he not only has his guys like 100% trust, but he wants to tip the scale so far in the favor of there is absolutely nothing you can tell me that'll allow you to not get on this program. Whereas sometimes the mistake that I make, and I think a lot of average closers make, is that they're just going to get enough information to make the close. Whereas Don is like, no, I'm going to get all the information. So there's absolutely nothing you could tell me at the end of this call. I think that's pretty cool.
Massively. And it's 100% accurate. And what I said before was, if I do it, sometimes you just look at me doing it and you're like, well, yeah, but that's Josh doing it, as opposed to one of the members of the mastermind doing it. It's very different to see someone else doing it. And the other difference is when I usually do it, I'm going way beyond what you would need to, in addition to it already being a difficult prospect. We're only 19 minutes into the discovery and Don's already quadrupled tied down this guy on multiple different points. And so this is a perfect example of a normal prospect, a real prospect, doing all the things right. Oh, and by the way, guys, this is a real prospect. This is not a role play. So nobody could argue the case of, well, when Josh is doing it, it's a role play. This is a real prospect that actually closed and gave Don money. And we're doing it in 20 minutes. So you're spot on, Bradley. And the most important thing is to realize Don is going above and beyond to ensure that he closes the deal, makes a commission, and it's still all within 20 minutes. So this is what I've said on my old calls when I was closing guys. They would all be within, almost all would be within an hour. Otherwise, I would have never been able to take 9 back-to-back calls a day when I was making 100K a month. And I didn't get objections. Plus was doing it within an hour, the whole call, because I was doing what Don was doing. Okay, so it's a perfect example from Don. And it's really good to see it from someone other than me. So well done, Don. Amazing stuff.
As far as preparedness to just do what's laid out for you, whether you like it or not, whether it's comfortable or not.
Yeah, I don't think there's I don't think in any company in a pivot it's ever comfortable. you know. And I know from my experiences is that you got to get uncomfortable. You have to be good with getting uncomfortable to get where you need to be. And I'm at the point where I'm already uncomfortable, so let's make it a little more uncomfortable. I could.
Yeah, but what I'm asking, I guess, a little more specifically is, have you seen enough from us as far as what we've been able to do with other people? Because obviously we haven't worked with you before, to say these guys know what the heck they're doing.
I mean, I haven't watched enough videos, but I've watched a few of them. So to be transparent, I don't know. Are you guys? I would hope that you are, because we're having this call. We're taking the time to do it.
I know what we are. What I'm trying to get a handle on is, what have you seen? Have you seen enough to say, okay, this guy Spiro, he's been in the business over 20 years. He's helped hundreds of other people with their electrical businesses. We're operating in 3 different countries. Are you at a point where you're like, these guys are the real deal and they know what they're doing? Because if you don't think that, then when it comes time to say, hey, Aaron, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, then you might not be fully on board. And then, like I said, the chances of success go way down.
Right. Yeah, I'm there.
Notice that, guys. The guy said, I'm not there. I probably need to watch more videos. And Don wasn't having any of it. And the guy changed his mind, and it was genuine. He changed his mind because Don held the position of leadership. So I've said this before, guys, where I've been like, you will change the prospect's mind based on how you perform on the call. When a lot of you have questions saying, how do I close prospects that have only just found our business and they've only just watched the pre-call video and they don't really know much about our business? Well, they'll change their mind about all those things by how you perform for the first 20 minutes. It's not about how much of your business they've already heard about or how many videos they've watched. Obviously, it'd be good if they've watched a little bit of content and they've seen a few testimonials, but this was a real life, real-time example of where the prospect was like, no, I'm not really sure. I could watch some more videos. Tried to put it back on Don. Well, I don't know, how good are you is kind of what he was doing. And Don was like, well, I know how good we are. And just that sharp cut down by Don, the guy was like, oh, fuck. And so he didn't word it this way, but subconsciously it would have been the same as the prospect saying, I wasn't sure I'd seen enough videos, but I've now seen enough about you based on how you responded to my question with detachment and confidence that has superseded the need for me to watch more videos. That was a little bit complex, guys, but did that make sense? The way Don dealt with the question and put it back on the prospect just overcame the fact that he could have said he wanted to watch more videos. And that is a micro example of the entire sales call, guys. That's what you're doing the whole call. The whole call, you're taking someone that has doubts, fears, doesn't know your business, never bought from a stranger on the phone before, doesn't have money, and you're turning them into someone that's going to buy from a stranger, give you a paid in full, does have the money all of a sudden, and all of these things happen, they materialize because of what you do during the 20 minutes. They don't materialize because you send the prospect away to go and watch more videos. That's not actually what makes the prospect confident. What makes them confident is when they see your confidence, when they see your expertise, when they see your sharpness, then they become the prospect that you needed them to be. You are changing your prospect in real time through the discovery.
Can we watch it one more time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, can I quickly say something before we do it?
Absolutely.
It's like you're saying, like, I already know like how good we are to the extent that we don't even need to fucking explain that we're good, right? It's that thing of like, I don't even need to justify it to you. You should already fucking know this type feeling.
It was exactly that. It was 2 things that Don did. Guys, please listen to this. Don proved that he was the business that this guy should buy, first and foremost, by trying to make the prospect sell themselves on why they want to work with Don. So that was point number 1. Have you seen enough videos that you know we're the people you want to work with? If you're not confident, you wouldn't ask that to the prospect because you'd be afraid to ask it, being afraid that they're going to turn around and say, well, no, not really. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which was the double tie down for it, when the prospect came back and said, well, I guess I don't know if I've seen enough videos. I could see more, but I guess it depends on how good you are. Don's response was, well, we know how good we are. So first of all, he tried to make the prospect sell themselves. Then he showed the prospect through example, I'm not going to sell my business. I'm not even going to attempt to sell my business. Both of those things, as Daniel said, was certainty and confidence and lack of attachment. I don't need the sale. You're either going to convince me you need this or not. That was why it then shifted the prospect to then saying, well, no, I am at that point. So let's watch it in real time.
I don't know. Are you guys? I would hope.
We'll go back.
I could.
Yeah, but what I'm asking, I guess, a little bit more specifically is,
and the way that Don did the first bit, guys, he actually had to re-ask the same question twice. This is the second version of him asking the same question.
have you seen enough from us as far as what we've been able to do with other people? Because obviously we haven't worked with you before, to say these guys know what the heck they're doing.
Don is making the prospect say yes or no. You are going to sell me. And the energy, you can feel it in Don's energy. The energy is this. Tell me if you disagree with this, anybody in the chat. Don's energy is, we're 20 minutes into the call, and I am willing to flush 20 minutes of my time down the toilet and just get off the call and not make a sale unless you tell me what I need you to tell me. That is real detachment. Don's like, I'm already 20 minutes into it and I still don't care. I will more than happily get off the call and send you on your merry way and not make any money off this call, and that's totally fine. And you can feel that Don's just not moving. He's immovable. It's you sell me or no worries, I'll just get off the call. You can feel that Don's not asking that question to get the answer he wants from the prospect and try and be attached to it. He's asking it from a position of an unsell. You can feel the unsell energy. It's like, well, you know, you can answer the question how you want, but basically I'm telling you, if it's not what I need, that's fine, but I'll just get off the call. Okay, so let's watch it all through and feel the energy, guys.
I mean, I haven't watched enough videos, but I mean,
I haven't watched enough.
A few of them. So to be,
I've only watched a few. So to be transparent,
I don't know. Are you guys? I would hope that you are, because we're having this.
I don't know. So he's like, I don't know. So he's basically saying no.
Oh, you were taking the time to do it.
I know what we are.
And Don just interrupts and is like, well, I'm just going to completely be detached.
What I'm trying to get a handle on is, what have you seen? Have you seen enough to say, okay, this guy Spiro, he's been in the business over 20 years. He's helped hundreds of other people with their electrical businesses. We're operating in 3 different countries. Are you at a point where you're like, these guys are the real deal and they know what they're doing? Because if you don't think that, then when it comes time to say,
if you don't think that, the language was, it's an unsell. If you don't think that, we'll just get off the call.
Hey, Aaron, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then you might not be fully on board. And then, like I said,
then you might not be on board.
The chances of success are go way down.
Right. Yeah, I'm there.
Josh, do you like that? Like afterwards, he kind of justifies it to you because of XYZ. When you're in the program, you're not going to be successful. Is that something that you'd
very important? Yeah, because you're not saying, well, you know, if you don't agree with the best business, then we don't want you as a client. You're saying if you don't feel that we can get you where you want to go and you have confidence and certainty of that, the likelihood that you have success is basically zero.
And he means it genuinely too. Yeah.
He absolutely. And the reason Don means it genuinely, guys, is there are a small number of people in this mastermind. I'm not going to name names because I got in trouble for that last time. There's a small number of people in the mastermind that have learned the principles that I teach, but you're executing them as tactics. The difference between what Don's doing and why it's working is Don is executing them from a place of philosophy. He said what he needed to say because that's genuinely what Don now believes, which is if you don't have certainty, then you're not going to be successful. As opposed to, I've heard Josh use this line before. I'm going to use that line and see if it works. And then it won't work, guys, because your energy and your intention behind it is wrong. Okay? All right, let's keep going.
Okay. What have you seen that puts you there?
And he's going to make him sell himself even further.
What have you seen from us?
The success stories, a few of them that I've seen, you know.
Okay. And what?
I think I'm just watching one that they just sent over. The guy from Australia that was 6 months in, that guy, you know. Cool. I know I'll be real and always upfront, and I appreciate the same, you know, as we move forward. I want you to tell me, even if it sucks or it doesn't sound good, because I want to hear it that way, because I'll have that much more respect for you and the company than like, oh, well, you know, don't coddle me, please. No, Like, please don't coddle me. I'm a grown man. It's gonna be hard. I know I can come up with a, you know, if it's, I think it's $4,000 someone mentioned. So I was like, I think I can come up with that. We can do 4 equal payments for a couple months and we can get there.
So before we go a little bit further in this call, guys, it will be very useful. And I'm sure a bunch of you are going to rewatch this on replay. And that's fantastic. Please remember, guys, when you watch this on replay and you watch what Don is doing, you watch it from a place of Don's identity and intentions and philosophy. Do not rewatch this and try and write out everything Don's saying, try and memorize what he's doing, try and look at it from a place of tactics. This is the type of call, guys. I think I'll probably do this with Don's permission. I'll have to check with Don. You don't have to answer right now, Don. I think what I would like to do, if possible, is rip the call. I'll get the original call from Don without the interruptions, and I'll get the audio only file. And this would be an example of a call that you just want to keep listening to, guys. Not listening to it to try and memorize what Don's saying or how he's doing it, but just to play it in the morning when you wake up and you go for your morning walk and just listen to a 20-minute discovery from the right energy. What does a 20-minute discovery feel like, where you've got the right energy, the right philosophy, the right flow, and you can just feel a real scriptless call with a real prospect without any interruptions? Okay, like Zaid said, it's for the vibes of it. So when you watch the whole replay of this with the interruptions from me, don't be re-reviewing it trying to memorize what Don's doing. Just watch it and think, I need to step into that philosophy and I need to step into that identity. Okay? What do you mean is that smart to do, Jay? Sorry, I didn't see the previous question. Absolutely. If you absolutely should be doing that. If you've got calls where you did a masterful scriptless discovery, you had the right energy, the right vibes, you want to rip that call and take the audio only and put it on headphones and listen to it every day. And you'll be absorbing not the words you said, but the energy of how you showed up to that perfect scriptless call.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
All right, let's keep going.
The point where I'm tired of, I'm stuck in this loop and I want to break out of the loop.
Okay.
And I know it's going to take some drastic changes, and I believe this is a drastic change to go and make that happen.
Okay. And I mean, you've kind of already documented for me kind of where you feel like you are business wise, bleeding cash, dead in the water. I get that. It's been that way for the last.
Notice the choice of the words Don used. He didn't pick up on the logistical stuff. Oh, you've got a van with 25,000 and you've got one, and no, he didn't use that as the summary. The choice of the summary words was dead in the water and bleeding. Very critical. We did a training 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago on prioritizing the right things to say. Yes, the data was very important to get the data to ground the hypothesis we have of this guy's situation in real numbers. But we use the data to get to the emotional side of things, which is how he's feeling, which is bleeding and dead in the water. And the precision that Don chose those words when he did a little mini summary there, as opposed to, okay, got it. So I know where the business is. You've got one van, you've got 3 vans that are not driving, that do 25,000, blah, blah, blah. That would have been nowhere near as powerful for the prospect as hearing Don say, so I know your current situation, you're dead in the water, you're bleeding out, boom, boom, boom. Okay. Very good, Don. Very, very good.
That's 2 months. What I'm wondering about now is how is that?
Sorry, Daniel.
I've been doing that, bringing out on the summary, the pain, but what I've been doing is bringing also pieces of data to validate that. That's not necessary then, because I sometimes feel the summary is too long if I put all the pieces in. So just staying with the emotional conclusion of that part of the data gathering is enough, like that?
So it depends is the answer. Number one, that was a mini summary. So if I did the full summary, I'm going to want to stack in some hard data, number one. Number two, depends how much data you've got. Like if you've got reams and reams of numbers and emotions and details, you obviously can't summarize all of that or it's going to be too much. So you're going to have to prioritize it. In general, you want to prioritize what's the most painful thing. Now, if the most painful thing is a feeling of being dead in the water and bleeding out, I'm going to start with that, or I'm going to keep it top of my summary. If the most painful thing was a very specific data point as far as a number, then I'll start with that. It's whatever is the most accurate representation of this guy's current problem.
So
That makes
using
sense?
like the last layer that we went to, the deeper layer.
You just got to
if
think that the
necessary, a bit of
words,
context. Yeah.
yeah, you got to think that the words, whether they're a word that is a word like a verbal word like bleeding, or a word that is a number, you would write it as, you know, the number TWO for 2. Words are just signposts to a person's images.
An image.
And you've got to get the most accurate image of what their situation is, and then use the words to represent the image that's most accurate. So this guy's image in his head right now is the image. You can see it. He's got his fucking wrist slit open and he's bleeding out, and he's like floating there in a fucking, you know, river, just floating dead in the water. That's the image of his current version of his reality. That's how he feels, and he's explaining his feelings through images, which is how you explain things. Does that make sense? So sometimes it'll be a number, sometimes it'll be words. It's whatever is the clearest image of their situation.
And it's their words anyway. So
and it's always
they'll
their
know
words.
exactly what that means.
Yep.
How is that affecting you? Like,
I got pretty solid faith, so a lot of it's just been, I've been patient. I've been due diligent. I've been listening. I've been, reaching out. This is a reach out right here. And the opportunity has presented itself, and I want to capitalize on the opportunity and not, shove it to the side. Because I think if I don't, yeah, sure, I got some other stuff down the road, but I'm looking to build something for the guys and their families as well. Like, I've always been a big supporter of the employees and their families, and they're big on that. And when I get slow and then they're starting to struggle and then I start to struggle, I just don't like that feeling.
I'm sorry, when you say your guys starting to struggle, what do you mean? Can you give me an example of your guys?
Well, when they don't see, they don't see 40 hours on the schedule, maybe they only see 28, maybe they only see 30. I was paying guys just half days just to keep them on board. We were cleaning the yard. I was like, we can only clean the yard and the truck so many times,
So basically, and again, I just want to make sure I'm clear. There were times you really didn't have work for them. So you literally just had them do kind of just honeydews or kind of things around the office or whatever. And just so that you can pay them something to try to kind of help them through the rough patch because you didn't actually have the revenue coming in.
Yes.
And what is, like, on a day like that, where you see guys out there just washing the truck and cleaning your lawn,
going deeper on it,
what goes through your head when you see that there's no
like, this sucks,
Notice the emotion that came out of him because Don asked that follow-up question. The first question, it was a truthful answer. He was like, yeah, they're just sat out there doing, random admin to keep them busy. It was annoying him, but it was cucked. It was like, I can kind of, not really express the emotion. And then Don asked one additional question and the guy exploded with his emotions. It was like, he can't hold that in any longer. I'll come to you in a second, Harry.
And I don't want to lose the guys that I've had for, the years that I've had them for. It's just like, it's painful. It is, it's.
And you say you don't.
So it's a great example of where you'll have the prospect in pain. You'll move into the next part of the sales call and they try and get away from it. They're like, oh, I'm going to keep being honest, but I'm going to be cucked in my responses and not really step into the emotions. You can't let that slide, guys. You got to keep them in the emotions. Notice Don got this guy into pain, and there's been 4 or 5 times where he's tried to slip out of it, and he can't, because every time he tries to slip out of it, Don just keeps going at him, either interrupting him, holding him in silence, challenging him with another question, and Don's just keeping him in the pain for 20 minutes.
Want to lose, but from what you told me, you already lost 2 of them.
Yeah.
And so now
he's stacking it with data. So you said you don't want to lose guys, but if I'm understanding correctly, that's already happening.
Just one guy left. I mean, other than the.
And notice the wording. You've got just one guy left. In other words, it's not that you had 20 and you've lost 5 and you've got 15 left. You had 4, you've lost 3, and you've got 1 left. The data Don is using, he's doing glass half empty, Bradley, but even more high level than that, he's just using the truth. He's not even having to shift the perspective to make it seem glass half empty rather than glass half full. He's just using the real data and not letting the guy slide with vagueness. Oh yeah, I don't want to lose more guys. Or I don't want to lose my guys. Well, it's not don't want to lose your guys because you're already losing your guys. It's that you've got one guy left. Or did I misunderstand? No, that's true. Right?
You have I'm assuming it sounded like it was a girl or a lady in the office. Okay, so other than her, you're down now just to you and this one guy.
Yeah.
How long has he been with you?
Since the beginning.
He's been with you for 7 years.
Yeah.
that extra data point was painful for him. He didn't want to admit that.
And what do you think that would be like if you had to
quadruple tied this guy down now
to tell him that?
So first of all, the guy said that he doesn't want to lose guys. Don then challenged that and said, well, you've already been losing guys and you've got one left. Then Don triple tied it down with how long have you had this one guy? Because he said he doesn't want to lose guys that are like, you know, his guys. And then he quadruple tied it down with how's that going to feel? So this is perfect example, guys. But one additional thing to be aware of, Don is not quadruple tying down the guy on everything he says. Don is being very selective with where's the opening, and when he sees the opening, he's running the ball to the end zone. He's not just trying to go on a break every time Don gets the ball, because that's why you end up on calls for 50 minutes. He's being very specific in seeing those openings and going for it.
That would suck. Then
and Don didn't interrupt in there. He's staying in silence because he's saying, oh, that would suck. He's not really sitting in it, and Don's not interrupting, and he had to sit in it for that extra second there.
Yeah.
And what do you think that would be like if you had to tell him that?
That would suck. Then I feel like I lost it all.
You would feel
he's buried. Then I would feel I lost it all.
like you lost it all at that point.
Yeah, just because then it's like now I'm starting at zero.
Right.
Oh, okay. So this is the first time we've seen a full scriptless call, apart from the ones that were in the mastermind of my old ones, beginning to end. I've said this before, but I've never had an example to give it to you apart from those few calls of mine that were in the mastermind. This is the moment you would pull him out. Now, probably a bunch of you are like, what do you mean pull him out? Because you probably never heard that. Pulling him out means you've got to hold someone in the pain. You've got to bury them in the pain. But once you break them, you don't want to be an asshole and just hold them in there any longer. Actually, it can unwind all of the work you've just done. This energetically, and for some of you that are more spiritually enlightened, you'll have felt that thud. That was it. That's it. You do not need to do anything more. Maybe a little bit of logistics as far as, okay, and in terms of time, do you have the time to do this? Okay, awesome, blah, blah, blah. And then you shift. That was the emotional thud. All right, we've now got the Don meme as well. All right. That is the point that you guys all need to be feeling on your sales calls. Okay. Beautiful work, Don. Amazing.
Josh, can I ask a question on that?
Of course you can, Harry. Sorry.
All right, so it's fine. The question I was going to ask, like literally a few minutes ago, was my intuition told me we probably had enough then.
No, you.
But I was going to ask you when you're like, if you felt the same, but no, you felt like this was the final point.
This is the moment. You could. I've done this for a while, so it does take a lot of time. It will probably take you, if you did all of your sales calls or the majority of your sales calls right, like this, it would probably take you about 6 weeks of consistently getting to the moment to then have what's called fingertip feel, where you can just feel it. You're like, okay, that was the moment. But you got to nail this down for about 6 weeks, and then you just know when you've got them. We've said the phrase before, but we've never had a full call to go through of I've got them. That moment of I've got them is an energetic feeling of like they're just cooked. They're just done. And that was the moment. Now, I'm glad you brought it up. Hang on once. Yeah, I will. I'm glad you brought it up, Harry. If Don had pulled him out 5 minutes before, the likelihood of an objection based on it being a reasonable price program, pretty high. He would have wanted to do it, but when Don says it's 15,000, he'd be like, oh, I don't know. Now that 15,000 is irrelevant. He'll find the money. He just completely imploded at that point there.
So I think the paradigm shift there for me is like, if you think of it like a threshold, I'm thinking, okay, we've probably just got enough, but you don't want to just be at that threshold, maybe like by interpretation, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. You want it so far gone, like you said, he's buried and there is no possibility of any type of objection or excuse because we've maybe taken it a little bit further than I would have anticipated, but you're kind of, I think Daniel said, right, it's about bringing that extra log to put on the fire to just make sure the fire is big enough that there's no way they're getting out of it.
Yeah. The best way to think of it, guys, is going deeper and deeper and deeper into getting them into the pain. You go until you can't go any further. Now, what I mean by go any further is there will be a point where if you try and go further, it's going to do this and it's going to come back out. Meaning you've tried to take them so far into pain that they've come out the other side, and they'll come out the other side for one of two reasons. Reason one, reason two. Reason one is they now go into what you would simply call as being numb. Like you've taken them so far and you've tried to go beyond it. It's like they've just gone into a coma. Like they can't make a fucking buying decision after that. So that's number one, okay? Or number two is they now view you like an asshole. So if you get to as far as you can go and you push, they'll be less. And this is two things, guys. You have to understand this. This is pain plus this is association to the pain. And the reason I clarify that is for this reason, to the pain. If you push further, they'll still be in pain, but they're not going to be associated because they're now numb, or they're not going to be associated because they want to distance themselves from you. They don't want to be around you anymore. They don't want you to be their mentor, their leader, their savior. They don't like you anymore. Okay? So if you push too far, they'll still be in pain, but they're just like the lights are on, but nobody's home anymore. And that's if you keep going too far. And I used to do this in the beginning of my sales career where I'd be on the fucking discovery for 40 minutes, which was actually a long amount of time on a real call. And would be like, they've checked out. They've checked out. Like they're telling you all the right things, but energetically, the lights are on, but nobody's present. And present is the association.
Sorry, Josh, what do you mean by association? Like them taking responsibility of it? Like, or I'm a bit lost there.
Sure. Association means they're actually feeling and experiencing the pain as opposed to talking about the pain or describing the pain. Let me give you an example. If there was a person that was in hospital and they're on a hospital bed, okay, so this is them on the hospital bed, right? They're sat there on their little hospital bed, right? And they're plugged up to a machine. And on the machine, I know there probably isn't a machine that does this, so just follow the analogy. The machine measures pain, okay? Pain of the body. So their body's plugged into this machine and it tells you, so it's like a graph, and it tells you where the pain is, okay? It's not their heartbeat, it's just pain, okay? However, even though their body is in pain, let's imagine that they're either pumped up with morphine so they can't feel the pain, or they're unconscious. So their body is still in a lot of pain, but they're not aware of the pain because they're unconscious. That's what association means. It doesn't mean that they're not in pain anymore. They're distanced from being aware of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so they're not really like actually deeply present and feeling it. They're just talking about it, but their head's really elsewhere. Got it. Thank you for clearing that up.
Their heart is elsewhere. Their head is talking about the pain. So like, and this happens with a lot of prospects. You say, imagine if Don had just asked that question. So imagine if you have to tell, or imagine if you lose this guy that's been with you for 7 years, how would that feel? A lot of prospects, especially if it was done earlier in the call without the other things being done right, would say, oh, that would suck. They're telling you it would suck, but if you don't see their emotions shift, they're not associated to it sucking. They're just telling you logically from their head, oh, that would really suck. Whereas when Don asked that question, you could see the guy's emotions come out. He's like, oh man, that would really suck. Like he started talking louder. He was more animated. You could feel it. He was associated to that pain. But there is and I'll use the medical analogy because it literally maps over perfectly. And it also maps over to animals as well, if any of you know this. When an animal in the not the jungle, an animal that you would see on safari in like Africa, if a lion or a tiger comes up to a deer or a gazelle and it bites the deer or gazelle, and the deer or gazelle is going to die, but it's going to die a very slow, painful death where it's going to get eaten to pieces, the gazelle basically just passes out because its body is filled. I forget the drug. I think it's like epinephrine or whatever. It's one of the drugs that just makes it just lose consciousness. And so it's a coping mechanism for, I'm going to die here, but I'd rather not die a slow, painful death and have to feel it. And so your body, which is what this graph represents, your body has a tolerance threshold where if you were in a dangerous accident or whatever, there'll be a point at which your body can't consciously tolerate the pain. You'll pass out. You'll just go unconscious so that you don't have to physically experience the pain. And so you need to develop your awareness as a salesperson of when the prospect has reached that moment of they've felt the maximum threshold of pain that I can take them to before they become metaphorically unconscious and they just pass out. Does that make sense, Harry?
I have a question, Josh.
Go for it.
Perfect sense. No, thanks for clearing that up.
Great question. You're welcome.
So regarding the one more log analogy, and all this is clear when to stop when you see them break, not necessary to do any more on the pain digging, but I was kind of, and this is how I'm seeing it. I just want to make sure that I'm seeing it correctly. The why now not, the how much longer question is not considered digging into pain now, because I'm turning into, okay, now how much longer about this pain, and that's now ownership. Because at first I actually wrote in the chat, well, at this point it's not even necessary to ask how much longer, because that's expanding the pain, but that's not expanding the pain. That's taking that pain and putting it into the ownership of saying, how much longer are you not going to fix this? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it's pretty much accurate. You're not only using that to get them into ownership, you're using that to shift the call from I've been burying you deeper and deeper and deeper into pain. We've now got to this point here, and we're now going to come out of the pain and we're going to fix it. You don't use the how much longer question to go deeper. You use it to go, okay, we're done. Which is this moment that we're at now with Don. Like at this point, it would have been perfect unless there's anything logistical that Don needs on the call to say, got it. So let me ask you, man, how much longer are you willing to sit there dead in the water, bleeding out because, and then we have to tie it to the missing thing. You don't know what you don't know about blank, 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 blank. How much longer are you willing to be in that position? And that would have been the switch. And then we're going to roll into understood. So if you'd like, I can, and then you would summarize. So I'm definitely clear on everything. You've got this is causing this is this. Is that all accurate? Yes. Understood. Anything that else we need to cover? No. Understood. So I'm definitely clear. If you want me to walk you through A through to Z, how we solve that, we can jump into all those details. And then the energy is different as well. It's very somber. It's almost like we've gone to battle. We've come back from the battle. There was a lot of our men that died on the way, our brothers in arms. We're coming back. We're somber. We've lost a lot of comrades, but we're going home now. And it's kind of that somber energy of we're going back now. We're coming back from the war. Okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. I don't know if we need to go any further in that call, guys, but we will just to see how it all wraps up. And then I think Jacob's going to rip it out and send it to me to put in the mastermind.
I'm just really proud of Don.
Me too. You know what I think is even more amazing, Jeremy? Any ideas?
Don joined in June.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I
was gonna say he's definitely been, getting after it, and I'm just, really proud of him. He's been showing up. He's a great member.
The biggest thing, not downplaying anything that Don has done, the biggest thing that I'm happy to see, if I could say that, is it doesn't take that long, guys, if you actually focus on the right thing. So the biggest thing I want you to take from this, guys, is not just well done, Don, and let's listen to the call. The biggest thing I want you to take is the timeline that Don did it in. more than what he's accomplished, the time that he did it in. So if Don's done this in 1 month, guys, can I challenge all of you to realize that no matter how long you've been in the mastermind already, scratch that, you've got 1 month to go from where you're at now to this. Don did it in a month, then the next 1 month to make the progress that Don made.
Question.
If it can be done in a month, you're only a month away. Don just goes and executes and then says, I've done this and I'm on to the next thing. As opposed to talking so much about what's being done or needs to be done, or, you know, something that you tried for 48 hours and got some results for 48 hours. Don's just been head down. And the only time he pops his head up is to share the insights of what he's already accomplished. All right, let's finish this off.
Like you're at now compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the fight. So I got knocked down enough and I just get back up, and here we are. We're having this call. You know, we're doing what we got. We got some remodels coming up. We're going out of town to go do a couple projects up north. I mean, I'm still in it. Like, I haven't given up. I won't give up. So.
Okay. I mean, I definitely hear that, and I get that sense. You mentioned that you're a single dad, and you have, how many kids do you have? 2? You have 2 kids, and you said you don't want them to see you struggling.
Yeah, I don't want.
Don's going even further, which is totally fine.
See that? Yeah, because it affects my mentality. You know.
How so?
Just like mood shifts. You know, it's just like, hey, Dad's.
Another thing I want you all to spot, guys, is that the guy is not fighting back against Don because, number one, Don's energy and intention behind it is pure. And number 2, because Don's not missed a beat. Your prospects push back on you when you miss 3 beats and then you try challenging them. They're like, who are you? Why are you trying to challenge me? You just dropped the ball on 3 things that I just said, and then now you're challenging me. That inconsistency is why they don't like being challenged. If you're inconsistent, you can get to the point that Don got to where he could have pulled him out of the discovery and still keep challenging him. And the guy's just going to keep taking it. Because he's like, I'm on the phone with a leader and an expert and someone that's nailing everything down.
Dad's having a hard time. You know, we don't have any revenue coming in.
So, how old are your kids?
7 and 10.
Okay. So, I mean, at 7 and 10, I don't know if they would. I mean, I'm assuming they're not saying, well, Dad's not having any revenue coming. Like, what are they saying? You know, what have they said, or how do you know it's affecting them? Or you said mood shifts. How do?
Yeah, I don't think they know. I don't think they know. I think it's a me. It's you know, we're our own worst enemy. I think it's just me wanting to be.
Have you been your worst? Are you your own worst enemy, or have you been your own worst enemy? Then that would have been another opportunity to pull him out. Well, yeah, I guess, you know, if I'm being honest, I am. So let me ask you, man, how much longer are you willing to be your own worst enemy? That could have been a good transition to pull him out on that.
Protective dad and not let them see that, because they've never said that. You know, they're always super proud, like, Dad, we know you're trying, you know, this, that, and everything. So I get that. I just don't want it to get to that point. So again, here we're having this phone call.
I got you. So have they seen you struggle so far?
I've just said, hey, you know, this next couple weeks is gonna be, you know, just challenging, and I just kind of leave it at that.
Okay. And do you think, what do you think that means to them?
I don't know if it means anything to them. I think they're still kind of too young, but I'm very protective due to the divorce and what it did to my kids. So I'm just always like, hey, I want to make sure I go out of my way to shelter them from, you know, from any of that.
Got it. So this right here is in your eyes a proactive step so that they don't have to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And as far as mood swings,
yeah,
have they experienced that from you?
No. You know, you always, like, we have off days, right? We're not always 100%. You know.
Okay. So again, that's something that you want to protect them from and not be in that space.
Yeah, you got revenue generation, we got food on the table, we got roof overhead, you know, that makes that happen. When you're struggling, you're down, it just affects, you know, it affects anyone. It affects the mental, hey, are we gonna make it? What's happening? You know, we're still okay, but it's like, hey, I'm not gonna wait till we have $0 to then come to you or make some type of drastic measure. I want to do it now. Like, I like to be proactive than reactive. So I'm like, hey,
again, because Don's going into everything, the prospect's selling himself. That's why the prospect's saying, I don't want to wait. I want to do it right now. Whereas the opposite would be, you don't dig into everything and then you're trying to make the prospect say the things that you want them to say, and it doesn't work. Whereas Don's just checking every trap door. Is there anything under here? Nope. Is there anything under here? Nope. Is there anything under here? Okay, so what's going on? Well, you know, I want to be proactive. I want to do it now. That's because Don's being proactive and Don's checking everything.
A few more months, 3 months worth of revenue left that we can keep everyone kind of like afloat, but I don't like floating.
Okay.
And I like climbing the ladder.
I got you.
So that would have been a perfect shift. Perfect summary wordage. He says he doesn't like floating in water, and before he said dead in the water. So his image is floating in water. His other image is climbing a ladder. I just got those two images. So I would say something like, so it sounds like you've been dead in the water, just floating there, blah, 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 bleeding out, etc. Let me ask you, how much longer until you take the first step on the rung of the ladder to climb out of that? Okay, you could use their words and use their language if you want to.
So I guess what, given the fact that...
Or you could do it even more masterfully and say, so based on what you said, it sounds like that we have the step-by-step ladder for you to climb out of being dead in the water, bleeding out. When would you like me to hand you the ladder and you can take the first step? You could do it that way if you want. Probably better to do it that way, because then you're saying you are the ladder. You have the ladder.
Right now, it looks like you have about $12,000 a month total coming in revenue per month. As you explained it, you're kind of dead in the water. You're bleeding cash.
Yeah.
And you want to make this huge pivot to service. I guess the question is, that I have for you is, how much longer do you want to be in this position where the revenue is a fourth of what you want it to be, and you're bleeding cash, and
I don't want it to be out tomorrow. I'm starting making revenue tomorrow. I don't wait. I know it's going to take some time to get it there.
Mhm.
That part I understand, and I've learned to be patient. But it's just like, okay, enough's enough. I'm just to the point where I'm at the breaking point of enough's enough.
Okay. So
and I'm watching other guys do it, and they're
Notice Don's not jumping in this time. He's staying in silence, letting him keep, burying himself.
not smart, and but whatever. But they're doing their thing. And I'm like, yeah.
who are these other guys? Are these?
And the other things Don's doing is he's keeping his emotions very still, even though he knows the prospect's just selling himself. Yeah, I'm very impressed with Don. I'm very happy mentor.
Guys that are these like buddies of yours? Or?
Oh no, I don't have anyone. I've got another electrician friend, but he doesn't have any service running. I don't have any other trade friends that run service.
When you say you watch these other guys and they're not any smarter than you, and who are these guys? Who do you mean?
Oh, just like the competition.
Okay.
Yeah, like when you bump into them.
I see. Okay, so I feel like I have a really good idea of where you're at and where you want to go, and I definitely know that that's something that we can help you do 100%. If you like, I'm more than happy to kind of run through A to Z.
Super chill, not like, yeah, we can definitely help you. Super excited. Let me walk you through. Yep, we can definitely help you. I know where you're at, know where you want to go. If you want, I can walk you through A through Z. Very nonchalant, very chill.
Exactly how we make that happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are two main things that we
nailed it. 30 minutes, 59 seconds.
I seriously do want to hear Don's inputs on, like what has been his mindset, and what kind of activities he's doing and time he's putting into it. I would really love to hear Don talk about that.
Soapbox us, Don. What you doing?
Action.
All right, let's do that then. Where's
I think he definitely deserves it.
All right, let's do a discovery on Don. So Don, in your opinion, since being in the mastermind for the last month, trying to get to the place where you nail your first Scriptless call, what has been your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge has been me. The biggest, the first part of the launch pad, the 8 pillars, really like getting into radical ownership, that hit me hard. As a lot of members know, I posted about it, finalizing actually a divorce with my wife. Been together for 30 years, got 5 kids. So a lot of what I've gone through is realizing that, looking at it now with new eyes, that so much of it was my fault. And I was in denial. I didn't recognize that. So I've actually been dealing with that a lot.
And so why do you feel that you've been able to deal with something very significant and get massive success, whilst there is a lot of people out there that aren't dealing with anything and are failing? What do you think was the biggest difference in how you were able to do what most people can't do or don't do?
I would say it's the support from the other people I've gotten in the mastermind. People like Michael, people like Chris Shaw, people like Matt Becker. Couldn't have done it without them.
Was there anything specific that they were doing to support you that stands out?
Yeah, especially Matt Becker, and I've written about it in my post. He's done some discoveries on me to help me realize some things about myself. And he, again, I mentioned about the pre-call checklist. He was the one that that helped me realize that I was kind of just going through the motions with it. I was just doing it with my head, but I wasn't really, even though I had some great things on the list because I had, built it thoughtfully, I was not being emotionally present with it. I was not embodying the things on the checklist. I was just reading them off like, okay, yeah, do that, do that, do that, do that. Okay, yeah, I'm ready for the call.
Makes total sense. And so was there a turning point when you were going through the motions to then not going through the emotions? What shifted?
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, I think it was the day before that call, Matt and I spoke and we just talked about the state and how I was showing up and things like that. And so I was really conscious that day, that morning on my walk and stuff like that, thinking about, okay, the situation I'm in is not good. And I need to, only thing I can control is what I focus on. I need to try to focus on the things that I can control, try to focus on the positive, try to focus on what I want to happen and kind of bring my best self to the call.
Makes total sense. Guys, who else has a question for Don? Anybody else have a question for Don?
I
Jeremy,
do.
direct it straight to Don.
So Don, I appreciate your vulnerability, and this is a perfect example of self-actualized selling. What I was actually looking for was more of a tactical in terms of like what, when you went through the materials, did you just try to go through 3 or 4 hours a day, an hour a day? Like tactically, what did it look like? Like how much were you role playing? How many times did you role play? Like, did you try role play a day, a couple times a day, anytime you had openings, just to be a little bit more specific on the steps that you took, the actionable steps so that if a new member comes in, they can say, this is what Don did. This is a model. I want to model what he did.
Before you answer that, Don, in your opinion, what percentage or ratio, but quantify it, would you say that the result that you had on this call that we just watched was a shift in tactics versus a shift in things like radical ownership, being conscious, focusing more on the right things? What would you put the ratio as?
Probably 90-10, 90% being what you're talking about as far as the radical ownership and the shift in focus and state. It definitely 100%.
Thank you. Do you see why I asked that question, Jeremy?
Yeah, because ultimately it's all about the internal game. It's like the 8 pillars, doing the 8 pillars. It's like, okay, it's one thing to have the 4 call pillars and watching how to do a scriptless discovery and everything, but the 8 pillars is more of the launch pad is more important, and actually making the internal shift rather than what you do. It's more about who you become.
Yeah, and it's a very repeated challenge of all of us that we still think the secret is in the tactics. The tactics help, guys. That we saw Don use the stand on your headline, but did no disrespect, Don, but did that have any impact on whether the call was a great call or not? No. 0.00001% of that call being as great as it was because Don used the stand on your headline. 99% of why that call was so good was Don's state through the whole call. The whole call, he was chill, stoic, focused, active listening, challenging the prospect. Like everything that came down from his way of showing up was why the call was a killer call. So I'm not criticizing you, Jeremy, for asking the question. I'm using it as an example that no matter how many times we get taught the lesson, and still reminds me of it all the time, that it's the internal that matters most, we still think of, can we subvert that? Can we go around that? Is there some tactic? Is there something? I mean, another thing to see with the call is absolutely Don was following the rough order of start with the problem, go deeper on it, get into some ownership, move into, you know, some tie downs and, you know, any objections or a little bit of an unsell, and then move into how much longer. But at no point was Don using planned questions. He was just listening to what the prospect said and going off what the prospect said. So there's no tactical, what did Don do differently? I mean, we could look at the tactics of, he had moments where he was in silence, which was very tactical, but it was really just the state of how he showed up to the call. And the most important thing that came from what Don said, and you can add some more stuff if you want in a second, Don, was the first thing that came out of Don's mouth was the decision to take radical ownership. Not only to take radical ownership in general, but to take radical ownership whilst going through an extremely heavy situation as far as emotional, spiritual, psychological, and even physical duress. Going through a divorce of 30 years with 5 kids to be not only responsible for, but responsible for, to show that you're not breaking through that situation. And Don chose to take radical ownership of what's available to him right now. What am I involved in right now? Right now, I'm in this mastermind, and I'm going to make the most of this mastermind. I'm going to get results. And from there, the radical ownership allowed Don to do this. He said, by taking radical ownership, I sought out and actioned the support of other members, doing role plays, doing discoveries on himself. No irony there that, you know, Don performed an amazing discovery on a closer because he went through his own discoveries with other members of the mastermind, running them on him. He then said, which comes from taking radical ownership, I stopped just going through the motions. The difference between someone that goes through the motions and someone that's not going through the motions is whether you're taking radical ownership. If you're taking radical ownership, you'll stop just going through the motions. Then he said, key word here, guys, I became very conscious. You can't be conscious if you're not taking ownership, because that's the same as being disassociated. You're alive, you're breathing, but you're not, the lights are on, but nobody's home. To be very conscious, you have to first take radical ownership. And by being conscious, he was then able to focus. So it starts with radical ownership, which is a state. It's a way of deciding to show up. The radical ownership turns into consciousness, and the consciousness turns into a focus. And by being focused, he was able to turn up and perform on the call. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah, and I think the overarching theme here, or meme here, is that I thought that I took radical ownership, and it's making me aware that I'm not taking as radical ownership as I thought I was.
Well, a good example of it, and I'm not using you as a example here, Jeremy, but just to use 2 specific comparisons. How much radical ownership can you possibly be taking whilst you're not going through a divorce of 30 years with 5 kids? Just even looking at the comparison of, fuck me, look at what Don's going through and still doing what he's doing. The level of effort that Don needs to be putting in to take radical ownership is 100 times anyone in this mastermind that is not going through anything roughly equal to or the same level or above the level of personal stuff that Don's going through. And it goes to show that it's not what you're going through personally that matters. It's how you're choosing to show up with what you are or are not going through. If you're one of the guys or gals here that is single with no kids, like, how difficult is it to take radical ownership of everything you do have available to you as far as opportunity? Compare that to Don, who's having to choose to take radical ownership whilst going through all of that. Yeah. So if you are single, guys, and you don't have kids, you've got work to do as far as the way you're choosing to show up. And if you do have kids or you do have a partner, same thing. Because compared to Don's level of extreme as far as what he's going through, it's probably much easier what any of you are going through than what Don's going through. I agree, Edward. Extremely inspiring. And it's no surprise that the inspirational call comes from an inspirational person. I'll say that again, guys. Inspirational call performance comes from an inspirational individual. There's no way to go around that, guys. You're not going to have an inspirational call by being someone that is not producing an energy of being inspirational. So if you're not married, no kids, and everything's pretty tickety-boo for you, put that in the vocab list, then you've got no reason to not be just crushing it, absolutely crushing it. Okay? All right, Jay?
Don, first of all, man, I think you're a fucking G. That's for sure. Everyone that knows the principles of the work ethic that is taught in the mastermind knows exactly why you're having success at the moment. So that's for sure. I have a question. How did you avoid having such a significant life experience as a divorce with 5 children get you to a point where you were actually using it as an excuse and not decide to not have it, I mean, not put in the work that you're doing at the moment? How did you avoid that experience from influencing that?
I had something I want to say, and your question is actually a perfect setup for it. So I'll give it to you. This morning, I went on my walk, and because again, I'm going through some significant stuff. Like my offer, the volume is down just in every area. And I was really down, really down. Bear with me, guys. And I got back from my walk, and I said I got divorced, but actually it's not 100% finalized right now. So we're actually still living together in the same house. So I got back from my walk. My wife got up, came down, we started talking, and she ended up saying, "Well, are you okay?" And I literally broke down. Because she didn't understand all the stuff I'm putting up with. As far as with the offer and trying to make sure I had the money to go out on my own and just everything. So my point is, on the walk, I was praying 4D for just like a light at the end of the tunnel. So she was like, "I know we're splitting up and stuff like that, but I'm still here for you and I still care about you." So that was a big thing. And then about 20, 30 minutes after I had that talk with her, I look at my phone and I got a text from Matt Becker. And he says, "How can I pray for you today?" Out of the blue. That's what he said. And then the third thing is what's happening on this call. Guys, you guys don't know what this means to me. To me, I feel like, to answer your question, those 3 things are the thing I need to keep pushing so that I can break through what's going on right now. So that's the answer.
Thank you for sharing that, Don. That's beautiful. And we're all here for you.
Thank you.
You absolutely crushed that call. Absolutely crushed it. Served that prospect and just incredible. Inspiring every single person in the whole mastermind in your first month of being here whilst going through everything you're going through. Incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. You have nothing to thank me for. You're the one putting in the work, showing up, doing everything you need to, being honest with yourself, being vulnerable with all of us, being vulnerable with yourself. Everything's going to work out.
I believe it.
Amazing. Absolutely.
That's definitely the deepest live call that I had so far, bro. Damn.
100%. 100%. And thanks to Matt Becker as well. Where's Matt? Matt.
Absolutely.
We had Michael. We had Chris. I'm sure there's more names, guys, but to those that are in the mastermind and not connecting with other people, great example of the power of not just getting the training, not just getting the mentorship, but actually building that support network around you. Sometimes we're going through stuff. Sometimes we're not going through stuff, but it's better to build the support network with each other. And I'll explain that in a second, maybe when you don't need it, so that it's there for when you do need it. And what I mean by with each other is sometimes being part of a support network is you're the one getting the support. Other times being part of a support network is you're the one giving the support. And so if any of you feel inclined to connect with other members of the mastermind and build those relationships, incredible example of the power of those relationships. Yeah. All right, let's see what we had from Zach and from Chris. We'll start with Zach. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't want to interrupt you, but if anybody has an offer, you have a killer available. So I don't think you'll have any issues, Don, finding yourself on an offer. Just put a post in the mastermind if and when you're ready, and you'll get on an offer, no worries.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has connections to an offer or is running an offer that has the lead flow, guys, don't hire Don if you don't have the lead flow. Absolute killer on your hands. All right, let's go with Zach. What have you got, Zach?
Yeah, Don, dude,
sorry, before you talk, can you put your camera on?
Yep.
Can you do that? All right, good.
Sorry, man, just at home dialing it from the phone. But yeah, Don, man, I was tearing up with you, man. I just want to say you are so clearly a badass, dude. I just looked in school and you joined exactly 7 days before me. But I don't necessarily feel like I'm 7 days away from having the performance that you just had. And now I heard how important like identity and state and the radical ownership piece was for you. I noticed that for me, my biggest constraint is a lot of self-belief and becoming aware of a lot of anxiety in my life that manifests in the calls. Don, for you specifically, do you have any hallmark beliefs about yourself or the world or anything else that allows you to embody that state and that identity?
So everything's a blessing and a curse. So like what you see there, that's actually been part of my curse. And what I mean by that is for the thing that Josh said about the difference between mentors and friends is, so I'm a coach, or I've coached, I've tutored SAT, which is a big test in America to go to college, but I've also coached sports, basketball, football, volleyball. I've got 5 kids. They've all played sports, and I was their main coach throughout. And at the end of the day, what Josh said about mentor and friend, I would relate in my life to father and coach. And at the end of the day, I think all of my kids would tell you right now that I've been more of a coach to them than a father. And that's one of my failings that I've realized going through the launchpad. So part of my thing is I have to hold back and not get abrasive because I can, somebody challenges me on a call. It can very quickly and easily go there. So a lot of that is just my, again, experience being a coach and just how I thought through the years. It's not necessarily something I can just give you here on the call. But again, it's kind of like just understand that everything can be a strength and taken to the extreme can also be a weakness.
Let me just jump in on that, guys. So it was many, many months back that I did a training on this. There's a small video on it on YouTube, but I said, mastering sales in the context that we teach it, scriptless selling, becoming a better version of yourself and self-actualizing. Huge part of that is looking at your personality. And the example that I always use is one of those radar charts, which kind of looks like something like this. So it's a chart like this, and you'll have different facets on the chart. So you might have a bit up here, a bit down here, really high bit up here, middle bit here. And then it kind of looks like this, where you have like a chart like this, and it shows you, so this will be like one feature of your personality, another feature, another feature, etc. And part of self-actualizing is looking at the parts of your personality that are underdeveloped and increasing them, and potentially looking at parts of your personality that are overdeveloped and bringing more balance to them. In other words, the key thing that you're looking to do is to develop who you are as a person. So we'll have different members of the mastermind that will be on a spectrum like this, where you'll have some members that are much more, I'll just use a simple word and say much more direct. But their directness, sometimes on sales calls, creates conflict. And so what they need to do is they need to work on balancing that directness with another side of their personality that you could just, for simple terms, call more softness. But then there's a lot of other members that are very soft people. They're very kindly spoken, they're very nice, they're very gentle. But when it comes to challenging the prospects, they don't currently have that faculty in their personality. And so you have to do what Don's saying and look at your personality and say, what parts of me do I need to turn on, turn off, develop more, develop less, and realize that the journey you're going on is an internal development of who you are as a person. Because the key thing that Don said was, I have to consciously remember on the calls to show up as a slightly different version of myself to serve the prospect, to actually be useful to what the prospect needs. In other words, Don looked at his previous version of himself and said, this has been very good for coaching. It's been very good for many areas of my life, but there's another version of me that I need to tap into to be able to accomplish this thing in my personality. And the biggest gap in thinking that a lot of salespeople have is they think that you're just learning a tactic. I'm going to be the same version of myself, but develop this skill set and get this result. No, guys, you have to be a different version of yourself. You got to realize it's a self-development journey that will get you here, get you to the results that Don had. Okay, Chris.
Amazing, Don. The extra mile is never crowded. So I'm on West Coast and Don's on East Coast. And when we would do role plays together, it would be midnight local his time. I'll repeat that again. Midnight local his time.
Yeah.
And he's doing role plays. So I just, everyone think about that. If you're too tired, Don wasn't too tired. He's still doing a role play at midnight. So love it, brother. Super proud of you. Appreciate your vulnerability too as well. Like, just amazing. This is what the mastermind's all about.
100%.
Big shout out to Chris, because I was of the mindset that I hadn't gotten to the Scriptless. I hadn't gotten Scriptless unlocked yet. So I was just going to work on 4 call pillars until I got Scriptless unlocked. And Chris is like, no, man, I'm doing it. And I've been doing it on my offer, and it's amazing. I'm killing it. He's like, man, you need to start doing some role plays and get into it. So if it wasn't for him, yeah, I probably wouldn't have even been doing any Scriptless right now. Again, the community is so huge, guys. I mean, I've never seen anybody sell like Josh or teach how to sell. Never in my or ever. But guys, the community is huge. The community is absolutely huge. Like I said, I've already said the support I've gotten, but also the inspiration I've gotten from other people and watching what they're doing, and I mean what Manuel's doing, what Skylar does, what Nicole does, and what Valentina does. Guys, the community is huge. It's huge.
Love that. All right, we have Brian.
Mad respect for you, Don. Amazing job. One of the things that I got just listening to this, and it goes back to the how you do one thing's how you do everything.
Right.
One thing listening to Don here that really resonated with me was I was going for just like what Jeremy was saying, I was looking for like the tactics. What are you doing? And like, what did you do? But what I got was I wasn't listening. I wasn't present. And you went back, Josh, and you said, Don said, hey, he's doing a discovery on himself. He's doing call reviews. He's doing stop going through the motion. I was looking for a different answer than what he was actually giving. And that was a aha moment for me. So thank you, guys. I agree with you, Don. This community is absolutely amazing, and keep it up, brother.
Thank you.
What a cool, guys. Amazing. Don, thank you so much. It's really, really been wonderful for everyone to see your call, to hear the backstory. So just want to say thank you from UM and I as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys, what are we going to do next? Do we want to do one more cool review, or do we want to call it there and leave on that high note? Put in the chat what you want to do, guys. No preference from my end. Put in the chat, guys. I'm not going to make the decision.
I was actually thinking high note when literally I was going to say something. It's like, how are you going to follow that up?
I can't follow that up. Don's the Don, so.
The Don.
I think a lot of us would like to process that and use that to serve your prospects, use that to serve yourself, use that to serve the people in your life. Take that inspiration, whether you've got calls for the rest of the day, take that into your calls and show up and serve your prospects. Do what Don did and serve your prospects. It looks like the vote, guys, is to leave that on a high note. Don, thank you once again. That's been massive for everybody on this call. So I think we can all say amazing stuff to Don, and we'll leave that call there, guys. All right. I'll see some of y'all on Friday. Have a great rest of your day. Sit with that amazing energy, and I'll see you all live on Friday. All right, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
From scripted to scriptless in 30 days. That is what is possible when you are inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. You've seen what it's about. You've seen the community. You've seen the support. You've seen the camaraderie. You have felt and experienced the difference. The question is, do you now want to get on the inside? If you want the training that Don received to go from scripted to scriptless in less than 30 days, if you want the mentorship, if you want to be a part of being around unicorn closers that are all on a journey to self-actualize, to become the best version of themselves, and that is the mission that you want to go on, click the link below this video and join right now, and you can have the same type of transformation. I'll see you on the inside.